Hi, everybody. It's David Wildson, the New Jersey Globe. I am with Governor Phil Murphy. Governor, thanks for joining me for a couple minutes today.
Thank you for having me on this rainy Tuesday.
Yeah, one of the things that's occurred to me is that you are today witnessing the constitutionally mandated you know your planned obsolescence. The intent was for you to have planned obsolescence. So you're a lot less pressure than you've had in past elections. How does it feel to be sitting in the governor's office as a bystander watching your party nominate somebody to take your job?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mentioned the rain, by the way. One thing on the list of stuff that I'm proud of is implementing early in-person voting and amping up vote by mail, regardless of what party you're in. There is almost 400,000 votes that are in even before anything opened this morning, which I think is a huge positive development, because you get a day like today, and on the margin that'll impact folks who have trouble getting out and around. I wouldn't say planned obsolescence. I'd take a little bit of issue with that. We're sprinting through the tape, and we've got 1,000 things we're trying to get done. So I think the actual obsolescence will come on January 20. But it's an interesting field. Having said that, you just watching the whole season leading up to today on both sides of the aisle. On our side, 6 candidates at the post, with each of them with a credible story to tell on how they're going to compete today, and in each case they hope to win. That's unusual. I don't have to tell you that. You've been watching this in Jersey a lot longer than I, but that's a pretty unique reality. And some of the stuff they say, a lot of the stuff that folks say, I think has merit, and some of the stuff I scratch my head and probably would lean toward fact checking from time to time. But yeah, I've been governor for a lot of Tuesdays, whether primary or general, but I haven't been governor for a Tuesday which is going to pick the person to succeed me. So in that respect, it is a little unique, I have to say.
Well, you are the first Democrat in 44 years to be in the position that you're in today, of no longer being constitutionally able to run and watching the party choose who they want to succeed you. So it doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't.
No, it does not. That's a very fair point. You've got a lot of instances over those years. Either somebody stepped down or they tried to get reelected, and the Tuesday equivalent, they were in the game, and that's it. I'm as a governmental matter, I'm 1,000% still in the game, but as a political matter, this is the batons being passed.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this question. In 1947, it's a long time ago for you and I, but in terms of history, not relatively recent. 1947 Constitutional Convention, the modern day founding fathers made a decision to limit a governor to 2 4-year terms. Now that you're in your 8th year as governor, do you think those founding fathers were doing a favor for the voters, or were they doing a favor for the governors?
That's a good way to frame it. I don't think of it as a favor either way, but I think it's the right thing. I've always been a term limit guy. Now, there are some absurd limits, like Virginia governor can only run once, which I think is a mistake. And having been in the seat for 7.5 years, there are a lot of seeds that we began to plant in the first 4 that have only been fostered and developed fully in the second 4. But David, I lean heavily toward it's the right thing. And that has nothing to do with, do I like the job or not? I love the job. It's the responsibility and job of a lifetime. That could be eternal. But the reality is, I think it's the right thing for the state. And that includes the politicians and, more importantly, or most importantly, the voters and residents.
Yeah. So, you we talked and we're God, we hit 5 minutes. So I want to, I don't want to overstay my welcome. I promised your staff I wouldn't ask who you voted for, and you haven't said that, and I respect that. But is it fair to say you voted for one of the 6 on the ballot?
That is fair to say.
Okay.
I won't say who I voted for. I'll also say this: whoever the nominee is, they can count on me to be all in.
Okay.
And I assume, what do you think? Will we know tonight, David?
I don't know. Sometimes I think I haven't behaved well enough this year to get an easy election night, so you never know. You just never know. But I will tell you, and this I say objectively, without bias, without, any look at Democrats or Republicans, you and your administration, your lieutenant governor, a lot of credit for really running elections well in New Jersey. You talked about early voting. Yep. You talked about vote by mail, which, by the way, both parties are embracing. But for somebody like me who's going to be covering election night, never before have there been requirements on reporting numbers and transparency as there have been under bipartisan initiatives that you signed. So thank you for that.
Listen, I appreciate that. That means a lot. I mentioned early voting and amping up vote by mail. You're absolutely right on vote by mail. It used to be seen to be more of a weapon for Democrats. I think it's now proven without question to be just smart voting behavior for both parties. And Tahesha Way and her team, the notion of double hatting the lieutenant governor, I don't know who came up with that, but it was a very smart thing to do. And it happens to be 2 of the first 3 lieutenant governors in our state history were each also secretaries of state, Kim Guadagno and now Tahesha. And Tahesha's done a brilliant job as Secretary of State. And I give a lot of credit to her. In fact, as we went on the air, I've been checking in and they've been posting me. I'm aware of no issues anywhere right now. So I'm knocking on wood that it stays that way.
Yeah, all seems smooth. Governor Phil Murphy, thank you as always. And by the way, congrats on what I think will be everybody. You move the election a week. Everybody is exhausted, and people aren't paying attention to your budget. So
I wish we could have moved it a month and then they wouldn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah. Maybe your successor will take that into consideration. Governor, thank you as always, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, David. Take care.
Bye.